In a realm beyond our brightest stars lived the Supreme Being. His existence was a song of creation, his thoughts were the seeds of galaxies, he was goodness itself, pure and unending. All that was beautiful, all that was true, flowed from him. His love was like the sun, warming everything it touched. It asked for nothing in return. It simply shone. He watched over all he had made. He saw every sparrow fall. He knew every grain of sand on every shore. His presence was a gentle hum beneath the noise of the worlds. The Supreme Being had a son. This son was the very image of his Father. He was light from light. He was wisdom incarnate. The Son shared the Father's love for all creation. He walked among the stars. He knew their ancient names. He saw the myriad worlds teeming with life. His heart was filled with a profound tenderness for them all. He desired only to share the Father's light. He wished for all beings to know the joy that came from true understanding. He was the Father's smile made visible. Below, on one particular world, life was vibrant. Green forests stretched for miles, blue oceans teemed with creatures, people built homes and cities. They laughed and they loved, but shadows had begun to creep into the hearts of many. They needed a gentle reminder. The Son resolved that something must be done. The Son did not look for those the world called great. He did not seek out mighty kings in their high castles. He did not search for powerful generals with their armies. Nor did he look for the orators whose voices boomed in crowded squares. These people often had their own agendas. Their hearts were sometimes too full of their own importance. The Son sought something far more precious. He looked for quiet hearts. Hearts that were still enough to hear a whisper. Hearts that were humble enough to learn. He searched for individuals who were open like a window to the morning sun, open to the truth no matter how simple it might seem, open to wonder, like a child seeing the ocean for the first time. He needed vessels, not those already overflowing with their own ideas. He needed those who were ready to be filled with his light. He knew that such souls existed. They were scattered across the land, often unnoticed, often uncelebrated, but they shone brightly to his discerning gaze. The Son's gentle gaze fell upon 3 such souls. Despite their varied paths, they shared a common, unseen spark, a deep, quiet yearning for truth. They were the chosen few. The first chosen soul was a woman named Alara. She lived a quiet life in a tall stone tower. Every night, Alara would climb to her observatory. She would gaze at the stars through her polished telescope. She believed the stars held ancient secrets. Secrets about the beginning of things, secrets about the meaning of everything. She charted their courses, she noted their colors, she felt a kinship with their distant, silent light. Alara was considered very wise by those who knew her. She had read countless books, her shelves were filled with scrolls of ancient lore. She knew the histories of forgotten kingdoms, she could speak in many tongues, but her vast knowledge had not made her proud. Instead, it had made her humble. She understood that the more she learned, the more there was to learn. One clear night as Alara peered through her telescope, a new star blazed into view. It shone with a gentle, inviting brilliance. It felt as if it were looking back at her. This was no ordinary celestial event. Alara knew it instantly. It was the Son's call. The second person the Son chose was a man named Kale. He was a humble farmer. He lived a simple life, close to the earth. His days were spent working the land with his strong, calloused hands. He knew the rhythm of the seasons as well as he knew his own heartbeat. He understood the language of the soil, he respected the sun and the rain. He found a quiet joy in watching things grow. From tiny seeds he coaxed forth sustenance for himself and his small village. His life was one of honest toil and quiet contentment. Kale was not learned in the way Alara was. He had not read many books. His wisdom came from a different source. It came from observation. It came from experience. He understood the miracle of growth. He knew the importance of patience. He had seen how a tiny, seemingly insignificant seed could burst forth with life. It could become a tall stalk of grain, or a sturdy tree offering shade. He understood the power hidden within small beginnings. One bright morning, as Kale was tilling his field, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the nearby trees. It carried a melody, a soft, enchanting tune that he had never heard before. The melody spoke of a greater harvest, a harvest of hearts. It was a call. He was ready to answer. The third individual chosen by the Son was a young woman named Lyra. She was a wandering minstrel. Her home was the open road. Her companions were her lute and her voice. She traveled from village to town, from bustling cities to quiet hamlets. She sang songs of joy and songs of sorrow. She sang of heroes and of ordinary folk. Her music had a special quality. It seemed to touch the hearts of all who heard it. It could bring a smile to a sad face. It could bring a tear to a hardened eye. Lyra had seen much of the world in her travels. She had witnessed its breathtaking beauty. But she had also seen its pain. She had seen poverty and injustice. She had seen loneliness and despair. Her heart was tender. She longed to bring comfort to those who suffered. She wished her music could do more than just entertain. One quiet evening, Lyra sat beneath an old oak tree. She strummed her lute, searching for a new melody. Suddenly, a song came to her. It flowed through her as if from an unseen source. The melody was simple yet profound. It was a message, a vital message that needed to be shared. She knew this was her true calling. The sun did not appear to Ilara, Kale and Lyra in a blinding flash of glory. He did not descend from the heavens on a chariot of fire. His coming was far more gentle, more personal. He appeared to each of them in a quiet knowing, a deep certainty within their hearts, like a truth they had always known but had only just remembered. He spoke to them not with thunder but with a whisper of love. He gave them their mission. It was a grand mission, yet it was beautifully simple in its essence. They were to go forth and spread his teachings. These were not complicated doctrines. They were not intricate philosophies. They were teachings of light and love. They were to tell people about the Supreme Being. They were to share the good news of his unending care and compassion for every single soul. They were to remind people that they were not alone, that they were loved beyond measure, that their lives had meaning and purpose. This was the core of their sacred task. It was a task of awakening. The path ahead for Ilara, Kale and Lyra was not always smooth. It was not always filled with sunshine and welcoming smiles. Ilara, with her newfound understanding, returned to her fellow scholars. She spoke of the guiding star and the simple truths it represented. But many of them mocked her. They called her foolish. They said she had abandoned reason for fantasy. Whispers of doubt began to try and creep into Ilara's mind. Was she truly right? Kale, the farmer, spoke to his neighbors and fellow workers in the fields. He talked about the unseen seeds of kindness and hope. He spoke of a harvest richer than any crop, but some were too busy with their daily toil. They worried about the weather. They fretted about their yields. They did not want to hear of spiritual matters. They were practical folk, they said. They feared change. Ilara, when doubt assailed her, would close her eyes. She would remember the breathtaking brilliance of the guiding star. She recalled the profound peace and certainty it had brought her. This memory became her anchor. She found courage not in arguing, but in the quiet conviction of her experience. She spoke with a gentle sincerity that began to disarm even the most hardened skeptics. A few younger scholars, tired of dusty dogma, started to listen with open minds. Her steadfastness began to shine through the mockery. Kale, faced with the indifference of his fellow farmers, thought of the tiny seeds he planted each spring. He knew they did not sprout overnight. They needed time, patience, and consistent care. He did not argue or preach loudly. Instead, he simply lived the teachings he now carried in his heart. He was kinder, more patient, more forgiving than before. His actions began to speak louder than any words could. People noticed the quiet peace that radiated from him. They saw the gentle strength in his eyes. Curiosity began to replace suspicion. Slowly, but surely, the teachings of light and love began to spread. Like ripples expanding in a still pond from a single pebble, one act of kindness inspired another. One word of forgiveness healed an old wound. One expression of hope chased away a lingering shadow. The world did not change overnight. There was no grand, sudden transformation, but a subtle shift began, a quiet revolution of hearts. The sun's gentle message was taking root. It was growing in the fertile soil of receptive souls. People started to look at each other in a new way. They began to see not strangers or rivals, but brothers and sisters on a shared journey. They started to help each other more readily. They shared their food. They shared their burdens. They celebrated their joys together. They comforted each other in times of sorrow. Small communities, once fractured by suspicion and selfishness, grew stronger. They became places of warmth and belonging. The light was indeed pushing back the darkness. The teachings were not a complicated philosophy to be debated by scholars. They were not a set of rigid laws to be imposed by authority. They were, quite simply, a way of life. A life lived with open hearts and open hands.